Let's get back to it now and talk a little more joint practice. Is there anything else that like really stood out to you guys? I mean, I think Mike Washington could be one of those things. Like we said, he had the rushing touchdown. They released the video of that, and I don't want to say he trucked somebody, but he was falling forward, into the end
Yeah.
zone, and that tells you the power there. Was there anything else that really stood out to you guys from joint practice? The takeaways you heard?
I think
Um,
going off of Mike Washington, I think there's concerns about the secondary as well,
Yep.
and I think those concerns are going to continue for a good part of the season. And I say that because when you look on paper, you see there's upside with their group, but because my concern is, will they be ready to go this year? I think the Raiders secondary looks like a group, like their young cornerbacks of Darian Porter, Hezekiah Mass, and Jamal McCoy might look like they can be a solid foundation, and they'll see the benefits of that maybe
Mm-hmm.
next year or the year after that. But like we have to put in this year I think you're asking a lot out of those guys, and I'm unsure if they'll be able to live up to it. And that's not a knock to them as a player. I just think it's hard to make that. It's hard for a lot of people to make that adjustment in the league, especially at cornerback. There are those rare cornerbacks who have come in you know, and shine right away. Pat Surtain is one of them. Derek Stingley is another one. Like, he comes out and starts balling out as a rookie. But those are guys. Devin Witherspoon in Seattle. But those are like rare to me. Those are like, rare occasions.
Cornerback's hard.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. And then like you look at Darian Porter, he's still learning the position. He said it himself. Joe Woods
He was
said
a
it.
receiver most of the time in college.
He said it
New to the
himself.
position.
Like he's still learning that position. We talk about Jamal McCoy. Jamal McCoy has looked like a guy who has not played football in more than a
yeah.
year. There's
That's
nothing
weird
wrong with
because
that.
he didn't, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
and there's nothing
Like,
wrong. And like I was saying, it's
yeah.
nothing wrong. It's nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
It's just the reality that they're dealt with. It's just that they're as concerning as those things are at this present moment, they
Yeah.
have no choice. That's all they have outside of Eric Stokes. They have to rely on one of those three guys. So
Also, too, just to throw in a little bit more kind of on the same trend you're getting at, like with Hezekiah Massis, 5th-round pick. He was at
yeah,
FIU, then transferred to Cal. Like, not exactly the like biggest competition in the world. It's not like he's in the SEC doing a lot of that. Like, so while he has looked impressive, he still is figuring out how to do it as a 5th-round pick,
Yeah.
all those different things. So, like, I think that's stuff people need to take into account, too.
yeah, it's not like, and people talk about like, oh, what's the we're seeing so many praises about the secondary. Why is not translating in these joint practice or in the actual game? And sometimes like you gotta remember like just because a player is getting first team reps in a practice is the contents of that matters. And if it's a team drill, it's the team period that's run heavy. Those guys are not going to be tested as much. And when they are tested in practice, they made their plays and sometimes they haven't. But at the end of the day, you're really going to see where they separate is when they are going against competition outside the facility. And so far, when they're going against competition outside the facility, that's where you see the faults in this group.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think when you look at the talent in the room and the potential, I think they can potentially develop into a solid core there with, you got the veteran in Stokes, you got Darian Porter, you got McCoy and Masses. I think that's a good foundation to build
Yeah.
with. You have Traden Stoops, who, he's listed as safety, but he's, you're going to see him play that nickel quite a bit. That's a solid young foundation there, but it's going to take some time to grow. And
Yeah.
like,
Building blocks for the
yeah.
future of it. Yeah.
And people, that's why when going into the season, that's when you're watching these games, that's what you have to understand. They're relying on a guy who is still learning how to play the cornerback position, Darian Porter. They're relying on Hezekiah Mass as a 5th-round pick who had one season at Cal after spending most of his college career at FIU. And then you got Jamal McCoy, who literally has not played football in more than a year because of a knee injury.
Mhm.
And knee injuries and cornerbacks are not the best thing are not the best thing. And they made it clear that they want to continue to ease him in. And it's good that he's getting the practice reps. He's out there playing with the 1, 2s, and 3s. That's what they want to. That's what they want to see. They just wanted him to get his feet wet and try to get that feel of the game again, right? But are we going to go out after missing that much time, go out there and expect him to just play lights out? No, I think
Yeah.
And if he was on another team, that's a tall task to ask for him. So it's gonna take some patience. I still think they have potential, but I know it's gonna be. I'm saying it right now because when they start playing regular season games, it is. I think those issues are really going to appear when the competition gets when they have to go against Jalen Waddle and Cortland Sutton, for example, Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, and DJ Moore in Buffalo, is Jackson Smith and Jigba and Rashid Shaheed. Like when they start playing the game, it's going to be tested. But you have to understand this is what the rebuild looks like. You just got to have to let the young guys play and take those lumps and use that as learning experience to move forward.
Yeah, to your point on McCoy too, like for the folks at home, think about when you take a vacation from work. How many days it take you to get back into the mix of things? Now imagine taking a year-long vacation, and then trying to figure it back out or figure out how to work again. Like that's kind of how I relate it. Like that's a long-ass time to be off and have to readjust to it. TJ, what else did you take away aside from your now new beef with Toro, the mascot for the Texans? Because now you guys are fighting, right?
I know. Hey, we catch him on site. I mean, Ryan, go handle that over there. Texas.
Yeah, you're in Houston. Handle it for TJ.
It's like, what you say? No, I'm joking. No, but like to real quick, like piggyback off of what Ryan said, and that's something like I learned as a Raider fan, especially trying to cover this team from the outside looking in, is like everything that happens at training camp, I try to like take it with a grain of salt because it's against our own players. And I'm always like, okay, it's good that they're doing good at practice, but I want to see them like really look good. It's one thing to look good at practice and another thing to look good when the game actually matters. And I think that's what we've been seeing so far with our team. So I know it's a young team, and I think a lot of Raider fans got to temper their expectations, because I know it's our fault too, because we get to hype these guys up a lot too. Like we take what you guys say, or say we drafted McCoy, it's a steal, and we're all like, oh man, he's gonna be shut down corner. Like it's not always gonna happen like that. So when you finally see that game time action, is like I try not to get too surprised, but it's like, okay, we definitely got some problems over here though.
Yeah,
but like I said, it's just
too.
It's hard.
It's hard not to get excited about it, like in the off season, and then when the real season happens, it's like, okay, what happened to everything that we've been hearing at training camp, at this and that? But there's levels to it, and I know that the Raiders right now, we don't have the most elite team out there offensively and defensively, other than a couple of players. But it's definitely going to be some growing pains. But like I said, I hope down the line, hopefully by the season coming around, we look more competitive than we have so far. But I guess something that I want to take away real quick that I don't think we really talked about was, I think, Quay Walker's interception that he had. He had an interception, and I guess he taunted or like flipped off the fans. I don't know if it was the fans or like just the quarterback itself, but like I think out of all the highlights, that was one of the most rare highlights that we had yesterday during practice. But yeah, I think just seeing that from him, okay, at least we got to play. And I forget that we do have – no, I didn't forget, but I don't want to forget that we do have two linebackers that are more than capable to help this defense out. But we'll see when the season comes around. But because there's a lot of questions, on the defensive line and even in the secondary. But
I think another point I like to make too about the secondary, it's kind of two, and it goes to like when we create optimism for training camp. I think it's also worth noting for fans. I would like to throw this out there, is like when we out there tweeting, we're tweeting what we see, right? Hezekiah Massey gets an interception. He got an interception. That I'm not we're not sugarcoating nothing. He got the pick. We saw him get the pick. It's like you have to like. But at the same time, you have to understand that, all right, he did that pick against his own team and how the play played out. And it's not going to be the same thing each and every week. Like, I think there's reason to have optimism, but at the same time, you have to understand, like, it's these practices, certain weeks, certain days, they're a run heavy focus. So even though McCoy's out there with the ones, he's not getting tested
situations
because they're working situations. So that's why, like, when we're saying, hey, Trader Suits getting first team reps or Hezekiah Massey getting first team reps, yes, that's good, but like, what matters is what they're doing with those reps. And sometimes they're doing certain situations, and it might be a run heavy practice where they're not going to get tested as much. So even though they're getting those reps, they don't mean like they're really getting tested. So it's practice like this that you're kind of, when they have in preseason games and joint practice, that's where you're really you're going to see the flaws there. And two, it goes back to the patience. The Raiders, like when you look at the Raiders, right? You see General Manager John Spytek and Head Coach Clint Kubiak with the secondary, and just for the young guys they built as a whole, trying to establish a foundation, right, of who they're bringing in guys who they hope at some point can turn this franchise around. It might not be year one, it might not be year two, it might be year three, right?